Welcome to the 485th episode of the Jami DulaEney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami DulaEney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome and thank you for listening. Have you ever heard things like, lean from the ankles, keep your chest up, relax your shoulders, act like you could hold a potato chip in each finger, hit your feet on the ground like pistons, quick feet, pick up your heels, drive your knee, engage your glutes. Those are running cues. How about stand parallel to the flight of the ball, keep your arms straight, grip with the last two fingers of your hand, keep the club square to the target, rotate even, keep the feet on the ground, follow through, belt buckle should be facing the target. How about weight on the balls of the feet, soft knees, flip your wrists, follow through, engage the core, keep your eye on the ball. These are common terms that people coach when they're trying to give people running advice or perhaps golfing advice or basketball shooting advice. Some might argue with some of the things that I said, but you get the picture. And if you're new to a sport and you're trying to do all of those things at once, it usually results in utter disaster and frustration. When I was a golfer, my best game would be on a day when I only had to concentrate on one minute aspect of the golf swing. And typically for me, if I just noticed the fourth and fifth finger on the grip of my right hand, I was going to have a good day. And if I didn't, then I would be trying to implement all those things to try to fix what was going wrong with the flight of the golf ball. If I am in the zone when I'm running, I feel as though I'm gliding effortlessly and my feet are just pushing me forward without a lot of effort. I feel relaxed and light on my feet and my shoulders are relaxed, and I really don't think about anything except perhaps just how my foot is landing on the ground. But when things aren't going well, I try to adjust a million different things. Drive my knee, pick my feet up, drop it back down, watch how I'm leaning, tuck in my, make sure my pelvis is not tilted anteriorly, all those different things. And when that happens, it usually doesn't result in a smooth run, but it doesn't keep me from trying. Sometimes if I just stop for a minute and take a walk or I'm distracted and then I start up again, things are better without me even trying. The reality of it is my head is getting in the way. I'm thinking too hard about doing something that my body could probably do naturally because I've done it so much if I just relaxed. I have focused so much of my running efforts on my injured right ankle that I've actually neglected other things that could actually make my right ankle feel good, such as making sure that I push all the way through with my left leg. And just by changing one little thing on the other day running, all of a sudden I had a gait that I liked and things were much smoother. But before, I was so focused, it's going to hurt when I hit my right foot on the ground. It's going to hurt somewhere, if it's hurting on the outside or the inside or up my shin, that I'm anticipating the discomfort and not being able to focus on other things that I should be doing. If I take the same thing into the professional world as a cardiologist, when something goes wrong, it is usually a life and death emergency. I had great mentors in my early training that showed me how to slow things down, turn the volume in the room down in my head so that I could only concentrate on the task at hand, breathing, and blood flow. Everything moves in slow motion, just focusing on those two things with a patient that doesn't have a heartbeat or that's not breathing. After things are stabilized and the patient's okay, then all of a sudden the volume comes up and the chaos comes back into the room and people are talking. But in the moment, there's an extreme calm that I would feel when we're just focused on the single task at hand. So whether people are learning a new sport or perhaps changing their nutrition and trying to get healthy, and especially changing their nutrition and trying to get healthy, often they throw everything at themselves at one time, and they're not sure what is working, if anything is working, and oftentimes they just get overwhelmed. And in a week or two, the pressure of being perfect becomes too much and they give up. It's not unheard of for a new vegan to have 20 new cookbooks. You get a Vitamix, you get an Instant Pot, you get a blender, you take a course, you watch all the videos, you start collecting recipes, you start trying things you've never tried before, getting in vegetables that you don't recognize. And again, often it leads to disaster or just the pressure of having to read a novel before every meal to try to put something on the table that when you finally get on the table, people complain about and they really don't like it. There's also the pressure that everybody's watching. Is this going to work? It seems crazy. Why are you doing this? Where are you getting your protein? Where are you getting your calcium? Are you not eating enough? You should be snacking. Oh, you can't eat that. We go here. You can't eat this. Are you allowed to have that? Are all things that people that have no idea of what you're doing chime in. It's always funny that you think about when if you were at McDonald's eating a Big Mac, no one would come up to you and question your decision, but just put a head of broccoli on your plate and people start to go crazy. In reality, there are too many choices. There are too many recipes. There are too many different ways of cooking. There are too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just becomes one confusing, blurry mess. But if you dial the clock back to when your children were just starting to eat food, solid food, after they got past the rice meal or whatever, the cereal that they start with, what I remember is, you wanted something of every color in the baby food jars, something green, something orange, a protein. And if those things were in the diet, then everything was going to be okay. Nobody worried about when you were going to feed the baby the goldfish snacks, or even rewarding a young child with food. It was all about nutrition. Have the meals and everything would be okay. It's not till they start getting older and you introduce a snack here or there, introduce that sweet tooth, and then we start changing and giving people rewards for doing something right, not too much different than we would give our pets. So a lot of us learned that doing something good resulted in a food reward at a very early age, and that became a source of comfort. All of a sudden, we change our relationship with food to that being something that comforts us or helps soothe us, when really the event that triggered those things had nothing to do with eating in general. The reality of it is food doesn't fix the problem, it just creates another problem. The reality of it is that majority of time, frustration is really an event and not really an emotion. The emotion is the reaction to the frustrating event that actually occurred. And how we interpret the event that occurred is based on our belief system. So we all interpret frustrating events differently, and what may be a severe event for me might not be for someone else. The other thing that happens is how many frustrating events do you incur? So if life is one frustrating event after another, it can somewhat wear you down, and your ability to solve these events or interpret them accurately starts to fall away, and then that's when bad decisions are made, which ultimately result in another frustrating event. Frustration and frustrating events have been broken down into domains: operational, doing things that you want to do; emotional, not being able to feel what you want to feel; fairness, being blocked from getting what you think is your fair share; achievement, not getting and not achieving the goals that you want to do. So these frustrating events block us from achieving operational, emotional, fairness, and achievement type of goals. People say they eat because they're bored, they eat because they're stressed, they eat for comfort. But then when they block the operational domain of not being able to walk on a vacation, or achievement domain, not being able to hit the weight loss goals, we become more frustrated and start to feel a sense of it's not fair. Some people can eat anything they want, but I have to do this, and it just snowballs. Some people try to avoid the triggers that lead them to overeat, but that's virtually impossible because there is food everywhere. And every time you walk into a grocery store, the bakery is usually close. The sweets and chocolate bars are at the checkout. You go out to dinner with someone, the triggers are always there. You can't hide from them. But the reality of it is they're not triggers at all. They're just your response to a frustrating event that's already occurred. The solution comes in the space between when the frustrating event happens and the choice you make afterwards. By creating a little space, you can look at things a little bit more objectively. By acknowledging that there is a frustrating event, you can see it for what it's worth. What are the true facts of the frustrating events? What can you do about the frustrating events? And even if that's the frustrating event in and of itself, or it's just the straw that broke the camel's back in a series of frustrating events that finally you just give into and solve them with food or poor choices. The more you practice taking a step back and assessing the situation and seeing if this is a major frustrating event or a minor frustrating event, and do you have your facts exactly straight with what's going on, or is it being blown up a little bit by perhaps an interpretation, or maybe putting words in someone else's mouth, or seeing things differently? The more space you give yourself to react differently, it's practice. And so that you're able to handle more of these frustrating events, because let's face it, there's frustrating events all throughout the day. And if we start adding them up, then we give ourselves permission to act in ways that are not appropriate. Stubbed my toe on the foot of the bed, the cat spilled the water bowl, I burnt the coffee, I'm late for work, I'm just going to stop at Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee and donuts because at least I'll have that. You get the drift. I had described to me a frustrating event in the office this week. A couple that have 4 teenage children described dinner as a frustrating event most evenings. The reality of it is preparing a meal for 6 people, preparing breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 6 people since it's summertime, and people are working from home, and people are there, and people are going here and there, is a frustrating event in and of itself. But trying to please 6 people can be even more frustrating. So you find yourself being a short order cook. I want this, I want that, I don't like this, I don't like that. Throw that into the mix of the 2 adults in the situation have health issues. So they have goals to improve their health span, improve their overall health and well-being in order to raise these teenage children into their adulthood and perhaps see them get married and see their grandchildren. So their goal is to be healthy despite the immediate frustration needs of the children who want what they want when they want it and want a voice in what's being prepared. This will come after a day long of frustrating events that happen during a work day. So various frustrating things, and then you add the food on top of it, and you're going to give in something. So we're all going to go for the comfort food. Let the kids eat what they want to eat. We'll just eat what they ate. So you give in, and the 2 adults continue to not improve their health. And the reality of it is the children aren't necessarily going to be the healthiest they can be or achieve the things that they can actually achieve by One might say that their gut microbiome would be affected by junk food. Serotonin, dopamine surges is nothing to fool with when you have teenagers. So a healthy, nutritious meal would probably be in their best interest as well, but convincing them of that certainly is a fight that not a lot of people are up for at 6 o'clock at night. And a lot of people face similar things when they're trying to convert a household to being plant-based when only one person or two people are on board. The reality of the situation is you're not going to win the war as far as making 6 different entrees for 6 different people. I don't think you win the war making 2 entrees for 2 different people. So there has to be a consensus of the menu. The reality of it is, as well, is that the people paying for the food ultimately should get to choose. But again, I see the frustration in the feedback that comes along with that. But perhaps sitting down and saying and being honest and having the honest conversation is the reality is we want to eat healthy. We want to improve our nutrition in the house. We want to provide you with good food, and maybe there's a compromise. Maybe if you eat this way for 5 or 6 days in a row and nobody's moaning and groaning, then we'll allow you to pick food for one of the weekend days. I remember one of Colin Campbell's children telling me that things just started to disappear in their house when they went plant-based. First, the red meat was gone, the chicken was gone, the dairy would go. So things started to disappear. Portions started to, maybe shrink, and then ultimately it was gone. And that's how it happened in their house. Perhaps you use some gateway foods, some Gardein products, or different burgers that may not be the ultimate healthy choice, but will fill in the gap when you're trying to convert your family, and then you gradually wind things back. Perhaps it's meatless Monday, and then it's meatless and dairy-free breakfast and lunch, and then you progress from there. As people's taste buds change, and they do change, you make more headway. On the other hand, and I've seen people give up dairy for 5 or 6 days, and then when they have dairy, it doesn't sit quite as well. It doesn't take long to lose those lactase enzymes, and you're just not quite able to digest the dairy like you should. Certainly, if you get past a month, it's pretty hard to come back and eat dairy products without feeling ill. Same way with oil. People start to notice that they're actually feeling better. They didn't know they felt bad, but they're starting to feel better, and they're okay without having some of the different products. But if you reintroduce them, it doesn't take long to get those cravings back. If you bring cookies back into the mix after you've just eaten fruit, you want a cookie. It's human nature. You get a bigger dopamine rise out of something that's very high calorie concentrated food, and its cookie would be high fat and high sugar versus a piece of fruit. So the more you put those things back in, the harder it is to kind of get rid of it completely. Another alternative would be to make the desserts plant-based, applesauce, instead of oil and eggs, flax seeds, and you can have the desserts, but again, they're more of a more healthy version, and then you back off of those. The other side of that is if you commit to just making your own desserts, then the effort in doing so becomes such that you make less and less. What can you do with a frustrating event besides handling it with comfort food? Recognize that it's food and not comfort food. Take the emotional tie out of the food to start with and substitute another activity for eating in the moment of that frustration. It's a lot easier to look at what other people are doing wrong as opposed to our reactions to it. The people in the break room are always bringing cakes and hamburgers, and they always want to go out to places that are high calorie dense food. They don't exercise, they're overweight, on and on and on. but you have space to stop and not participate in that event. Choosing not to eat and then coming home and eating a healthy dinner will result in you feeling a whole lot better about yourself than taking a frustrating event such as your coworkers eating triple-decker sandwiches and sweet desserts and you taking part of that and then being frustrated when you have to get on the scale the next day or you have to take your blood glucose. I heard another statement. We were traveling and the only place to eat was McDonald's. The reality was the only place close to the hotel within walking distance was McDonald's. So it would require more effort to drive somewhere to find something healthier. A great option, if you haven't downloaded the app, is Happy Cow. If you have the Happy Cow app, no matter where you are, you can find restaurants that have vegan and vegetarian options, and it's a great way to start. It's also great. You look at the menu and you know what you're going to order before you go someplace. If you've been driving all day and you're hungry and tired and you walk into a place that may have a plant-based option, you may be so hungry that you just don't quite have the problem-solving ability to order something healthy and you just go for the cheese pizza with mozzarella sticks or whatever, as opposed to finding a restaurant that perhaps you could have a veggie pizza. So use a Happy Cow app and look at the menu and decide what you're going to eat before you go. If you're going out with friends and you look at the menu, you can see what you can possibly eat when you go out to a restaurant. If there is absolutely nothing and you've called the chef and you don't think there's a good chance that they're going to prepare something for you or different or make something with what they have, then the discussion should be, I cannot eat there. Can we go to this place and offer a solution as opposed to I'm just not going to eat or whatever? Because I think if people explain to someone, I'm doing this for my health and I cannot eat here because, then you might get some, people say, okay, we can eat here. This is a viable alternative. Finally, on a running front, the ankle injury is starting to come around a little bit more each day. I'm sticking to my weight training 3 days a week and shorter runs with the dogs, and then Tuesday, Thursday, longer runs, and we're adding mileage on the weekend. And so far, so good. Things are starting to come around. I'd like to give a kudos to my strength coach, Nathan Meinerich. He is excellent at helping assess what the problem is and giving me strength work to address both weaknesses and total body fitness. By myself, I want to focus in on my problem and, do all kinds of exercises for my ankle, maybe too many sometimes, and throw everything at the book at it. Sound familiar? And with his help and guidance, we was like, okay, how often should I do these things? And helping me to come to realize that just loading my body with extra weight helps to strengthen all my tissues, not just the ones that are injured. So the goal would be to come out of this injury stronger and faster than just fixing what was broke. So kudos to Nathan by giving me exercise that focuses on identifying some weak and imbalances that may have contributed to the injury, but also giving me routines that and sequences that allow me to do enough and with a purpose of building muscle fibers, building strength, and in the sequence that I need to have it done. So it's been really fun to be able to just go do a workout and follow the coach's orders, knowing that he has an understanding of what's wrong with me and what our goal is on how we're going to fix it and move things along. And because of that, we are going to start to expand and offer some of these opportunities for other people if they're interested. So Addie and Nathan and I will be on a podcast here in a little bit, in a few weeks or so, on how we might be able to offer these services to people that are interested in having a weight plan to go along with either an injury rehab or training for an event, maybe just getting stronger to go on a trip, being able to walk on a vacation, hike on a vacation, climb mountains on a vacation, whatever it would be, in addition to getting your nutrition set. So I think that he's finally got him talked into sharing some of his expertise with others. It's kind of easy to go to the gym or go to your weight room and do the same 3 exercises day in and day out and hope that things are getting better when in reality we're probably spinning our wheels. So again, it's nice to have somebody that's willing to change things up for me. I also look back at my Garmin Connect data. So I record every run walk that I do over the since my 100-mile race in January, and I've really not missed too many days, mainly travel. So I've either been walking or running, and my mileage has stayed up pretty good, 35, 40 miles for the most part. I've backed down a few times. Again, back down speed, more walking than running. But I think it's important to keep the movement and keep reassessing and keep seeing the forward progress that's being made, as opposed to not doing any activity. The reality of it is you need blood flow to all these tissues to help them heal, and the best way to get blood flow is to do movement. And sometimes I think I'm not doing anything, but when I took time to look back through, again, my training logs, it's like I've been able to keep moving. Maybe not as quick as I wanted to, but I've been able to keep moving forward. And again, adding the strength training in, I think, have the opportunity to come out on the other side even better. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Races are now on the schedule, and we're moving forward. So, I think, I'm going to close on, if you have an injury or something is ailing you, it is better to assess it and see what you can do in a positive way rather than to avoid movement altogether. I think it's really important to keep doing what you can in whatever variety that you can do, but just not doing anything and waiting for something to become perfect, again, before trying it, probably won't result in much movement. So if you have some interest, you'd like to inquire more before we have the podcast up about either strength training with a coach, getting a plan, like our nutrition services, would like help just getting a health plan in order, problem solving some of your frustrations, you can go on over to DrDulaEney.com and see what we have to offer. It's DoctorDulaney. I can't stress that we have a $25 a month membership that allows you access to all our live Zoom conferences that we have once a week, mobility classes and movement classes, as well as nutrition lectures, cooking demonstrations, and then a members only page with a bunch of recipes as well. You also get access to all of those for just $25 a month. So you can see what the program is about and whether you'd like to become more actively involved, and then can breast either to have Addie work with you as a dietitian or myself as a medical coach or a physician. And again, soon we'll be offering a strength component as well. So go over and check it out. You can always email me at Jami, Jami, at DrDulaney.com. Would love to talk to you about any of them. Share this podcast with your friends if you enjoy it. Thanks, as always, for listening.